Hello all, a very good morning to all of you. This is Vilasini from Veranda IAS. So friends, இன்னைக்கு நம்ம என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா the daily current affair analysis for the dates 21st and 22nd August 2025. Okay, so this is what we're going to see. So yes, in this context, I know the weekend is kicking in, right? And I've always reiterated this as an aspirant. You should always remember, because your entire preparation journey spans 1 year, right? So weekday and weekend ku periya difference irukonu avasiyam illa. So in this context, as much as possible, especially if you're a working professional or if you're a college student, right, weekend is the only time you can take the best advantage. So in this case, whenever time is favoring you, make the best out of it, right? Okay, so in the context, yes, usually when we begin, we start off with a very positive note, right? So இன்னைக்கு வந்து there is something that very interesting that I wanted to talk to all of you about. It's about this. Look at this image. Okay, so this is called as an e-waste clinic. Okay, e-waste clinic. So pollution பத்தி பேசும்போது we might have spoken about air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, etc. But now here in today's world, right, some of the major pollutions என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா we have electronic waste, we have plastic pollution, and we have biomedical waste, especially after COVID-19. So talking about electronic waste, I think all of you will agree, India has overtaken China to become the most populous country in the world. So in the context, e-waste is also a pressing problem that the world is dealing with, correct? So in the e-waste problem, how do we manage? And also in this, we should remember, நிறைய developed countries வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they have the habit of dumping electronic waste into developing countries and least developed countries. So in the context, we can make use of these raw materials as an advantage. We can ensure that further pollution is avoided. So in the context, India's first e-waste clinic was set up in Bhopal. So இங்க வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா the waste will be segregated at source, fine, then later it will be sent for processing. Whatever can be sent for industrial use, that will be reused, and similarly many other parts will be used as raw materials, and some will be further treated and then only discarded. So in the process, sequential process பண்றதுனால, number one, we can make the best use of the existing e-waste, right? So waste to wealth promote பண்ணலாம். Next, it also ensures the idea of what is called as a circular economy, where the wastage is brought down and the existing waste is brought about as a raw material, right? And in a long run, it will also help promote what is called as sustainable development, right? So sustainable development na enna? Today's development should not compromise tomorrow's future generations to meet their needs, right? So this is called as sustainable development. So in the context, say e-waste will also, or having e-waste management, right, e-waste recycling, and e-waste clinic will come up or will help promote this. So yes, one thing that I wanted to say, whenever you try to write answers, right, at the end it's very important to give optimistic solutions. So in the context, say e-waste is a problem, but the solution over here is an e-waste clinic, right? So every time you think from a problem and solution mindset. The more you start thinking of solutions, நிறைய ideas கிடைக்கும், and who knows, tomorrow when you become an SDM, you can also implement this in your district, right? Okay, so now moving forward, we will be looking at 21st and 22nd August oda important ana topics from the Hindu International Edition, right? So on the topics, number 1 pathingana, we have Israel approves plan to seize Gaza city, calls up its reservists for campaign of conquest. Okay, page 1 la irukku. So in the context, we should understand the Israel-Palestine conflict is a very deep rooted issue. It has been going on for ages, but the last 2 years வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it has got escalated massively, and we can see so many images, right, coming out of Palestine of how many children are suffering, women are suffering, right? Malnutrition is there, poverty is there, right? Sanitary conditions ரொம்ப poor-ஆ இருக்கு, many people are dying, right? So this is constantly happening. So what has been the updates and what has been the progress so far, இதை பார்க்க போறோம். So in the context, Israel, Palestine, the issue of Gaza comes under your GS paper 2, international relations. Okay, next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா in Moscow, Jaishankar flags challenges that tariffs poses to India-Russia trade. So our external affairs minister had commented about the progress in India-Russia trade 2021 lendi ippo varaikkum, by how far have the numbers increased, what are the major barriers to the trade in India and Russia considering severe tariffs being put by America. So நம்ம எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும் this tariff war is taking place, right? So the American president Mr. Donald Trump, right, has threatened to impose 50% tariffs, right? So in the context one of the major reasons cited was India importing crude oil from Russia. So yes, so based on this, what has been the progress so far, இதை வந்து நம்ம அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுவோம். ஸோ அகேன் in the context, right, bilateral trade, bilateral relationships between two different countries will also feature in your GS paper 2 international relations, right? Next, India successfully test fires the Agni 5 intermediate range ballistic missile, right? So Agni 5 intermediate range ballistic missile from Odisha, they've successfully test fired it, right? It has been developed by the DRDO, the Defense Research Development Organization. So in the context we'll learn a few things about this missile, right? We'll also learn about the different missiles that are there in our country so far, right? And இது எல்லாமே we'll try understanding. So in the context yes, defense systems unga GS paper 3 science and technology la it plays an important part. Okay, next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா Global Solar Alliance plans to establish research hub in India. So in the context yes, just to give you an idea, right, UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, we've all heard about it, right? So in the context there is something called a COP, Conference of Parties. So here வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா in COP 21 which took place in Paris in 2015, one of the major on the sidelines, one major event which took place, or it led to the formation of what was called the International Solar Alliance, okay, ISA. So in the context the International Solar Alliance, right, so who are the members involved, what is the idea? It is to do with solar energy, promoting renewable energy, right? So இது வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா it was an initiative of India and France, right? So இது பத்தின இருக்கிற further updates, what has been the progress so far, right? What is this research hubs that they are planning, right, in different countries, இது பத்தி நம்ம பார்க்க போறோம். So in the context yes, we can bring this under GS paper 2 international relations under organizations, also under GS paper 3 science and tech under the scope of renewable energy. Okay, next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா water extremes drive people from home in Afghanistan. So in the context yes, Afghanistan, the situation hasn't been very great, from political climate to the rights of women, etc. Yes, after the Taliban has taken over, things have changed. But இங்க வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா apart from the political climate and the social lives getting affected, right, the environment also has not been favorable. Water scarcity, droughts, crop failure, name it, Afghanistan is going through it. So in the context of what is the implication, right, water scarcity nala what are the implications so far, right, they are all becoming climate refugees. So in the context we'll understand few terminologies to do with water as well. Okay, so here this வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா we can bring this under GS paper 2 international relations, also under GS paper 2 social justice with regard to the implications of climate refugees, right? Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா conflict, poverty, climate change fuel Nigeria's worsening malnutrition crisis, right? So Nigeria, it is undergoing a severe malnutrition crisis. Many deaths, percentage of children suffering from malnutrition பாத்தீங்கன்னா ரொம்பவே increase ஆயிடுச்சு compared to last year. So what have been the reasons, right? Political factors ஆ இருக்கலாம், right, insurgency நால இருக்கலாம், right, also apart from that climate change, water scarcity, all these are responsible factors, right? And also பாத்தீங்கன்னா UPSC பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் map based questions வரும்போது they'll give you certain places and they'll ask you for what reason was this place in news, right, or if this particular place is there, which country does it belong to? So in the context yes, mostly places where there is conflict, where there is some crisis, இது எல்லாமே become significant from the examinations point of view. So here வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா in this context here we'll again try understanding what the issue is, right, and இதுமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா it comes under your GS paper 2 international relations. Okay, so these are topics for 21st August, right? Now moving forward, 22nd August, yes, 22nd August பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் there was one major topic, right? The front page itself spoke about the governor, right? And also about the presidential reference. இதை நம்ம already detailed கவர் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். So I request you all to go and check out the current affairs playlist. You will find presidential reference, you will find governor over there, and please go and watch the video and please read the static part of it, articles pertaining to it, okay? That is one. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா US asked India to buy oil from Russia to stabilize energy market, remarks our external affairs minister Jay Shankar, right? So the ongoing issue, the entire world is keeping a watch, right? So in the context of what have been the progress so far, right? So with regard to India, Russia, right, the procurement of oil, further updates to it, and in the context this features as a topic in your GS paper 2 international relations. Next, if we see Panchayat sets examples with cancer control model, okay? So Kerala there is the Kannapuram model, fine? So it is in one of the panchayats pathingana for cancer awareness, for early detection, for screening, diagnosis, they have come up with a model. In the model could be used as a reference model for the remaining parts of our country. So நீங்க answers எழுதும்போது you can use this as value addition and we will discuss about it. Okay, so here வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா under the scope of health, right, GS paper 2 social justice. Next, silence will only embolden the bully, right? So இது வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா it's a very blank statement, but just to give you an idea, it's about the meeting which happened between China and India, and in the context of what the Chinese minister has said, right, with regard to India suffering under US tariffs. So this is very important because the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet is also going to take place. So adukku munadi this event has happened, okay? So we will read about this, understand about this, and in the context like yes, GS paper 2 international relations, okay? How women migrant electors are disenfranchised in the Bihar special intensive revision process. So special intensive revision பத்தி நம்ம நிறைய பேசியிருக்கோம், right? I think we've been discussing it for a long time, and here just few more additions. How is it a bit unfair on women migrant laborers, right? So this is one thing we need to understand. So in the context yes, polity GS paper 2 this features as an important topic. So guys, we have effectively decoded the syllabus. I hope it is clear, the linkages, okay? So let us straight away get into the discussion. So in the context yes, let's talk about this. Israel approves plan to seize Gaza city. Call up its reservists for campaign of conquest, okay? So in the context yes, for us to understand few background details, right, somewhere starting around 2023, right, the relationship got much more strained, right? So exactly on October 7th, right, 2023, what happened was Hamas வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா they attacked Israel in a very offensive manner, right? So many people started raiding into Israel, many hostages, many people were taken as hostages, civilians were taken as hostages, right? And this caused great damage, and Israel full on started attacking Gaza. It declared war, right? So in the date lende pathina till now the progress, if you see, multiple conflicts, firings are happening, multiple civilian deaths, right? Especially Palestine is suffering, right? Nariya children, women, they have got massively displaced. Poverty is there, hunger is there, sanitary conditions are not great, right? Ipo recent vandu pathina humanitarian aid is a little bit allowed, right? So here massive deaths are happening, and this war of constant killing of each other is not going to be the positive outlook in the long run, correct? So in the context of what has been the response so far, what has been the opinion of different countries அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, number one, if we talk about Israel's position, so what Israel feels is this particular place where it is trying to attack, right, inga வந்து it blames the Hamas a militant group, and Israel says that Hamas is basically using innocent civilians as human shields to protect themselves. So in the context this is Israel's stance. Then if we talk about US has more or less been a good supporter of Israel, but US kuda pathina looking at the ongoing conflict, it has spoken about peace, it has spoken about going for ceasefire. Next in the context if we talk about the United Nations, the European Union, all of them have said immediate ceasefire is required. Next, France vandu pathina they said they would recognize Palestine state by September 2025. India, if you see, initially we said that Israel has the right to defend itself, but have also been supportive towards Palestine, right? And India வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா when we are trying to get a permanent seat in the UNSC, when we are vouching for that, our viewpoints actually matter a lot. So India வந்து, yes, it has also said that a two-state solution is required, peace should be the way forward, right? And it has also tried to support Palestine through humanitarian aid. இது வந்து India has been doing. So this is the progress so far, this is the opinion of different countries. So in the context of what has recently happened, அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, the cabinet, right, the security cabinet led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, they have said that the army can take full control of Gaza city, right, and they want to entirely demilitarize Gaza, right, and also weed out Hamas. That is the plan. But here, yes, the idea is Israel will not take control of this place, but after a point of time, they will hand it over to the Arab forces. This was what was discussed. But on the other hand, inge pathina different point of view irukku. So Israel irukra opposition party as well as many other countries have criticized this move, saying that it could worsen the existing situation. And here Palestine irukra existing people are also very scared. They are very scared because they feel then more shelling, more violence, etc. could further put them in a very difficult situation. So in the context of what is happening is that number one, right, the Israeli defense minister has approved a plan, right, to attack Gaza. That is there. But in this context, there are people who are trying to push for mediation as well, and to call for ceasefire. And in this context, there is also pressure on Hamas, right, to accept. But here there are different things operating at the same time. So many people are questioning, right, what has been Israel's diplomatic efforts in trying to end the war. So இது வந்து ஒரு question mark ஆயிருக்கு. So in the context, yes, let us look at further updates as and when they come. But for your exam, Israel, the ongoing issue, right? So what has been the stance of different countries? What has been India's say in this? இதை மட்டும் படிச்சுக்கோங்க, more than enough. Map locations and points could be significant. Okay, so now moving forward in the context, let us look at a mains question. India's relations with Israel have of late acquired a depth and diversity which cannot be rolled back discussed. So இது வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, it is a 10-mark question, 150 words, 2018 ல கேட்டிருக்க ஒரு previous year question. Okay, so questions pertaining to India and another country. ரெண்டு கண்ட்ரிக்கு நடுவில் நடக்கிற வார்னால how will India be impacted? These kind of questions are very often asked in the exam. So you, whenever you read a topic, always have an India lens to it, right? அதுவுமே important. So next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, let us also try solving a prelims question. Which one of the following countries of Southwest Asia does not open out to the Mediterranean Sea? Right, a 2015 prelims question. Option A, Syria. Option B, Jordan. Option C, Lebanon. Option D, Israel. So if you know the answer, please reply in the comment section below. Right? Okay. So now, yes, in the question paathachu, moving forward. In Moscow, Jaishankar flags challenges that tariffs pose to India-Russia trade. Okay, so here, yes, looking at the ongoing issue between US, right, and the imposition of tariffs on India, right? So unga ellarkume theriyum the background, yes. So we all know what happened was, the minute Russia-Ukraine war started, right, many countries, Western countries, have been imposing heavy sanctions on Russia. So Russia வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, it had to look out for alternate markets to supply its crude oil, to sell its crude oil. So in the context, yes, India as a country, நீங்க பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, we are very dependent on crude oil imports. So now when we have Russia, which is giving crude oil to us at highly discounted prices, right, it is more favorable for our country because நம்ம Russia கிட்ட இருந்து oil procure பண்ணா, it will help keep the price rise in check, meaning inflation can be kept in check. But in the context of this is not liked by many countries, especially US, where US feels that the money which is used to buy the oil is also used to indirectly fuel the war happening between Russia and Ukraine. So in the context, initially Trump had earlier threatened that he would impose tariffs at the rate of 26%. This was even before all this started. 26% he would impose tariffs on countries where US is having an unfair advantage. But later when this came out, Trump had said we will impose 25% tariffs and there will also be a penalty. But as this issue slowly started escalating வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, later it was said that 50% tariffs will be put on Indian goods entering the US. Right, so India பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் we were very concerned because we felt many sectors would be affected. Sectors like the agricultural sector, the MSME sector, right, these sectors can be impacted by the ongoing tariff crisis. So in the context, yes, looking at all that has happened, our External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar had basically given a comment about the ongoing issue, right, and how the tariff and non-tariff barriers are impacting the trade between India and Russia. So here, yes, few things were discussed. Number one, if you see, there was also a discussion that the India of a free trade agreement which should take place between India and the Eurasian Economic Union, right? So in the context, yes, talking about our trade, the values, right? So 2021 la pathina it was around 13 billion US dollars, and from 2024 to 25 pathina it has increased to up to 68 billion US dollars. So it's quite a huge jump, and one of the major reasons is because we procuring oil from Russia, right? Crude oil from Russia. That has also been cited. So in the context, this were some developments, and also it was discussed that we should further deepen our ties, strategic ties, logistics, trade barriers are remove panano, payment mechanisms we need to further improvise it. So all this was being effectively discussed. Okay, so any other updates which comes, we will further keep discussing anyway. So in the context, yes, moving forward to the next topic, India successfully test fires Agni 5 intermediate range ballistic missile, right? So in the vandu pathina, Agni 5 intermediate range ballistic missile was basically test fired from Chandipur in Odisha, right? So in the context about missiles, science and tech, this could be an important topic. The different types of missiles, right? Surface to surface, surface to air, short range, intermediate range, idu ellame you need to have a certain amount of idea, right? So let us understand a few things. So if we talk about Agni 5, number one, it is a nuclear capable surface to surface ballistic missile. Okay, so idu pathina adoda range vandu it is over 5000 kilometers, and it has been developed by the DRDO, the Defense Research Development Organization. So here vandu pathina it is one ambitious project under India's integrated guided missile development program. In the program ku keela there was one ambitious project which was Agni 5, and that we have recently tested. So here in this context, it is also important for us to know the other missiles which are there, right? So number one, we have Prithvi. Prithvi வந்து என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, it is a short range surface to surface ballistic missile. Then we have Trishul. இதுவும் வந்து it is a short range, right, surface to air missile. Next we have Akash. It is a medium range surface to air missile. Then we have Nag, which is more of a anti-tank missile. And then finally we have Agni, which is an intermediate range ballistic missile, right? So knowing the different types are important, right? The range, etc., right? Is it surface to surface, surface to air, short range, medium range? Idellame therinjikkiradhu could be significant. Now apart from this, right? So here if we talk about, right, this surface to surface ballistic missile, idu vandu pathina it can carry both nuclear and conventional warheads, right? So inge talking about the different types of missiles from the examinations point of view, it could be important. So here different types of missiles patti pesumbodhu you should know short range missile na it is less than 1000 km. Now if we talk about medium range, it is somewhere between 1000 to 3000 kilometers. Now if we talk about intermediate range, right, it is 3000 to 5000, and then if we talk about long range, right, it is more than 5500 kilometer. So here the different ranges of short, medium, intermediate, long, this could be important, right? The values and what comes under it, idu vandu therinjikkiradhu could be useful. Okay, so these are few things. So this is all you need to know with this particular topic. So Agni 5, India's integrated guided missile development program, right? What are the different missiles that we have, right? What are their ranges? Okay, so this is more than enough. So next in this context, let's talk about another topic. GS paper 3 science and tech renewable energy layum idu feature agum. GS paper 2 international relations also, because we're talking about the International Solar Alliance. So here vandu pathina the Global Solar Alliance plans to establish a research hub in India. Okay, so enna solranga, the International Solar Alliance, right, wants to establish what is called as centers of excellence in many countries, right? So in the context they're talking about a global capability center. Okay, and அவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா around 17 countries they want such centers to come, and this will like fuel the mindset of coming up with more ideas, right, to carry forward solar energy, capacity building இருக்கலாம், training இருக்கலாம், right. So for all this could be very useful. So in the context we need to understand few things with regard to the International Solar Alliance. Let us understand the background. Okay, so guys, here few things that we have to understand. Okay, so now let me tell you this. So let us go back and try understanding the background. Just a quick recap for you. So guys, what happened is 1992 la vandu pathina a famous summit took place. This summit was also called as the Rio Earth Summit. Okay, the Rio Earth Summit, or rather the Earth Summit. So in the summit la vandu pathina, when countries participated, right, you can see the year 1992, they discussed the pressing issues of the 21st century. So in the context, the multiple issues were discussed: pollution, biodiversity loss, climate change, land degradation, the need for development which needs to be sustainable, right? So in the context of what were some outcomes of the Rio Earth Summit in pathina, number one, there were discussions on climate change. Now to deal with climate change, we had what was called as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா there was an issue on biodiversity laws. Now to deal with biodiversity laws, we have what was called as the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா there was an issue on land degradation. Now to deal with issues of land degradation and desertification, we have the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. And yes, with regard to discussions on sustainable development, we had what was called as the Agenda 21, right? So these are some outcomes of the Rio Earth Summit. So in the context, yes, if we talk about the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, it is one major convention which aims to address, right, climate change, especially because of greenhouse gases. Okay, so here vandu pathina the members to this convention are called as parties. The supreme decision making body, right, is usually called as COP. This applies to all conventions. COP na enna? Conference of Parties. They are the supreme decision making body. So what happens is these members meet year on year or on alternate years, and they will discuss what the progress has been so far. So in the COP oda meetings paatha nariya meetings nadandirukku. Like for example, COP3 happened in one particular place, COP4, 5, and the mari different meetings in different places. So இதே மாதிரி பாத்தீங்கன்னா one significant landmark meeting was COP21, which took place in 2015 in Paris, right? So this is very significant, the Paris summit, right, the Paris agreement which came out of it. Why? Because it set binding targets on countries with regard to addressing climate change, right? And in the context of many countries came up with what was also called as NDCs, nationally determined contributions. That is, avanga enna efforts edukka poranga to address this. So idhe yen na sonnen pathina idhe COP21 2015 Paris oda sideline la da International Solar Alliance was created. The International Solar Alliance. So as you can see, the primary aim, right, is to tap and harness solar energy. So the International Solar Alliance vandu paatha, it was an initiative of two countries. In the two countries in pathina, number 1 we had India and number 2 we had France. So India and France came up with the idea of what was called as the International Solar Alliance. So this International Solar Alliance, number 1, it talks about harnessing solar energy. Initially vandu pathina, it was more to do with countries, right, within the tropics, right? So யோசிச்சு பாருங்க, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn க்கு நடுவுல, right, the insolation is quite high. So these are good places to tap solar energy. India called these countries as Surya Putras. Okay, but later vandu pathina, it was open to many other countries as well. That is, even they could be a part of this. The idea is to, number 1, enhance resilience to climate change, right, improve solar energy production, right, at the same time capacity building, creating green jobs. All of this was being cited. Okay, so in the context, yes, the headquarters, the secretariat is basically in Gurugram in India. So here, this is also one more thing you need to understand with regard to the International Solar Alliance. Idhila pesambodhu, one of the latest discussion has been ISA's Towards 1000 strategy. Towards 1000 strategy. What is this strategy about? Number one, if we talk about funds, the idea is we have to mobilize 1000 billion US dollars in solar energy solutions by 2030. And how will this help? This will ensure that energy access is made available to 1000 million people. And overall, how will this help? It will ensure that installation of 1000 gigawatts of solar energy capacity is taking place, and it will also ensure that global, the emissions, right, can be reduced to the extent of 1000 million tons of carbon dioxide every year, right? So in the context, yes, these are few things you need to understand, right? So International Solar Alliance, right, what is its mandate, who was involved in it, who is party to it, right? What are some initiatives about it? What are some things mentioned in the news about the International Solar Alliance? This ellame could be important from the examinations point of view, okay? So now in this context, let us solve a question. Consider the following statements, okay? 2016 la ketirukanga. The International Solar Alliance was launched at the UN Climate Change Conference in 2015. The alliance includes all the member countries of the UN. So anytime you come across some extreme statements like all, etc., probability of it to be incorrect is very, very high. So in the context, yes, International Solar Alliance vandu pathina, it was launched in 2015. That we are all sure. All member countries na kadayadu, right? So countries within the tropic and few more members who are also included are there. So all is very extreme. So here the correct statement is just A, one only. So questions like this can come in the exam. I hope you are all able to understand, okay? So now moving forward, let's talk about this. Water extremes drive people from homes in Afghanistan. So yes, talking about Afghan's story, we all know many things have taken over, right? So after the US left, Taliban has taken over. So Taliban has taken over. Next, so there has been a kind of political chaos. Taliban has now taken over. Adu thavara, yes, they had massive floods, right? Then they've had droughts. Yes, and also apart from that, many people, because of all these reasons, have been facing immense displacement. What is displacement, right? A particular place is no longer habitable for the people, so they are forced to move out. So displacement has also been taking place, right? So the ellame vandu pathina, the International Organization of Migration has basically cited that many people in Afghanistan are basically living in highly vulnerable situations. So yes, mostly many of them build in mud houses. They rely on agriculture and livestock. Now with floods, droughts, lack of water, right, water scarcity, etc., livelihood is getting affected, income is getting affected, health is getting affected. Many such conditions are worsening and are deepening. Okay, so in the context, there is one word that I wanted to tell you all. Number one, climate refugees. So read about this. Who are these people called as climate refugees? So friends, we've heard of refugees of war, correct? So war kapro refugees keli patrukom. But in today's world, right, climate refugees are becoming high and high in number. Especially Pacific Ocean kitaka irukra islands, many islands are going to be vulnerable to getting submerged under water. So the number of climate refugees is increasing. So what does this tell you, right? In a warming world, especially when climate change is going to take place, apart from political conflict, if there could be one more factor which could be responsible for the displacement of people vandu enna nu pathingana, climate. So harsh climates, droughts, lack of water availability, food scarcity, the ellame can trigger a crisis. Okay, so in the context you should have an idea about climate refugees. Okay, so this is one more thing. So read about these topics, right? And idhe madri there's one more word that I wanted to give you all. Any guesses what this word is? Day zero. What is day zero? Any guesses? Right? Or a fancy movie title mari irukala day zero nu solumbodhu, but it's not the movie, it's actually a term. Any idea what this is? So day zero vandu pathina, it refers to the day when the existing water resources will dry up, right? So few months ago the city of Bengaluru almost witnessed it, right? Many other places across the world are witnessing it, and many places are progressing towards it. So in the மாதிரியான terms தான் நீங்க படிக்கும்போது have an idea, because prelims la வந்து UPSC likes asking fancy terms and what it means. Okay, so this is one. So in this context, moving forward, let's talk about this. Similar to the topic that we just saw, conflict, poverty, climate change fuel Nigeria's worsening malnutrition crisis. Okay, so in the context there are few things that we need to understand, right? Certain many factors on the pathingana, it is affecting Nigeria terribly, not just climate change but also the conflict, the insurgency happening over there. So there is a group called as the Boko Haram. Read about them, the Boko Haram, right? So in the madriyana insurgency naleyo, poverty naleyo, climate change nale, malnutrition crisis is on peak in Nigeria. So here, yes, going forward, let us understand few things. Africa's largest economy is Nigeria. Despite being the largest economy, it is facing a malnutrition crisis, right? Especially the northern portions are facing severe crisis. Last 6 months, over 600 children have died, which is very alarming. And also in this context, right, severe malnutrition cases are there. And if you compare last year, right, it has increased by 208%. That is a massive jump, right? So in this context, hidden hunger, malnutrition, right, stunting, idu pathina we already discussed pannirkom many a times. Read about this. All this is becoming prevalent in this particular place. So here, what are some major reasons, Pata? Violence. So here, many people are getting displaced, right? The insurgency happening, the role of Boko Haram, all of this is ensuring that people are getting stripped from where they are staying. So here, many people are affected by violence, they are forced to get displaced. Next, food insecurity, obviously climate change, nadaka when the weather is not favorable, water availability is becoming less, food security also becomes difficult, healthcare, poverty, unemployment, lack of funding, not having efficient healthcare, all of this can further fuel not having effective healthcare systems, right? And in the context, the most affected population would primarily be women and children. So maternal health and children's health is what will be majorly affected, right? So this is an add-on to this topic, right? So in the madri questions which UPSC can ask questions like this. Consider the following pairs. Area of conflict mentioned in news and the country where it is taking place. So here வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா number 1 Donbass கேட்டிருக்காங்க, Syria, Kachin, Ethiopia, Tigray, North Yemen. How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? A, B, C, D. So guys, what do you think is the answer? Please think. What do you think is the answer to this? Donbass, Syria, Kachin, Ethiopia, Tigray, North Yemen. What do you guys think would be the answer? Any guesses? So option A, B, C, D. So let me tell you this. So Donbass, is Donbass in Syria? Actually, Donbass on the pathingana, it is in Ukraine. Okay. The Kachin region is somewhere in Myanmar. Tigray is in Ethiopia. So in this case, all the three are wrong. So the answer is D, none. So this is how map-based questions can come in the exam. Or place then they'll ask you for what reason it is, or to give you a place and they'll ask you the country where it is located. So when questions like this come, you have to be smart enough to tackle it in a proper way. Okay, so now moving forward, let's talk about this. Further developments to the conversation between our External Affairs Minister Jaishankar with Putin, right? So he was in Moscow, right? Our External Affairs Minister. They've had discussions. So in the context, yes, there's been a positive outcome out of this, right? So the we'll further be discussing, but so far what has been agreed is that US asked India to do everything to stabilize global energy market, including buying oil from Russia. So in the context, yes, there has been a slight change, right? Because so far India was very worried, right? Because 50% tariffs on us would be very heavy, right? And one of the major accusations put on us was we getting oil from Russia, right? So in the context, yes, this was a major discussion. We were talking about tariff and non-tariff barriers which were there to the Russian trade, right? And in the context, we've also spoken about other areas where we can deepen our ties, right? So agriculture, pharmaceuticals, these are all some sectors like textiles, etc., where India can further deepen its ties. So all this was discussed in the context we've already been discussing, right? So we all know the background, right? Why this is happening, why the tariff war was taking place, right? The outcomes of the Alaska summit which happened when Putin and Trump had met with regard to Russia and Ukraine, right? We've been discussing. So here this is just an additional add-on. That's it. Okay. So next moving forward, Panchayat sets example with cancer control model, right? So let me tell you many times, right, there's a term like participatory democracy. Participatory democracy, grassroots level democracy. So what do these terms actually mean? So imagine there is a ladder, right? And if there is a hierarchy. Now if the lowest rung, that is all the people are going to be effectively involved, actively participating, right? Governance ரொம்பவே effective-ஆ இருக்கும். Right? So in the context, a participant vibratory democracy involving people's efforts, etc. is very, very important. And here, one panchayat has set a major example for this, the Kannapuram model. So in the context, you need to understand that yes, right, in a world that we live today, non-communicable disease are on the rise. NCDs na enna? Communicable disease are those which can spread from person to person. NCDs are those which are increasing in today's world. Person to person spread agadu, but it can have severe implications on our human health. For example, if we talk about cancer, if we talk about diabetes, right, any cardiac related issues, right, இது எல்லாமே comes under the scope of NCDs, non-communicable diseases. So in the context, the cancer is also something which many people are suffering from in today's world, right? So this panchayat model, that is the Kannapuram panchayat model, has somewhere helped address this issue. So in the context, yes, they've spoken about many things, right? So here, the Kannapuram model, right? So இது வந்து number one, it is a community-led initiative to address the ongoing issue of cancer. So இங்க மெயினாக என்ன பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, நிறைய awareness campaigns, right? Telling people, informing them about diagnosis, screening of population, and significantly breast cancer பத்தின ஏகப்பட்ட awareness. So now here the problem is many women might have it, but many women may not be aware that they are having it. So here diagnosis and early screening matters. So in the context of what they have done is, with the collaboration of the Malabar Cancer Center, 96% of women above 30 in the panchayat underwent screening. Right? So this is very, very useful. So in the context, how will such models help? See, rural India, yes, there is, again, they have their traditions, there is a little bit of orthodoxy associated, there is stigma which is there towards healthcare, right? So it helps break these barriers. Healthcare needs to be inclusive for all. And imagine in the process when the grassroots and the develop agi vanda, it is much more effective because they are the people who need to be more benefited. So in this case, it is one way to empower rural India, one way to ensure inclusive governance நடக்குது, right? Women are benefited, and cancer மாதிரியான ஒரு விஷயத்தை early stageலே diagnose பண்ணி screen பண்ணிட்டா, it will be very useful in the long run. So in this case, this panchayat model has been very, very useful in taking this effectively forward, right? And this could be an inspiration for many other states to implement models like this. So this is the context of the article, okay? So next, moving forward, unga GS paper 2 international relations, silence will only embolden the bully, right? Silence will only embolden the bully. So in this context, right, China and India's relationship, that is the scope of discussion, right? So yes, in this context, earlier there were speculations that if at all, right, the sanctions of US on India is going to be a lot. There might be a possibility that in the near future, India might become close to Russia and somewhere even with China, right? So here, how are things looking so far? Idha nama understand panna try pannalam. So yes, the Chinese ambassador to India, right, he has strongly condemned the idea of imposing a 50% tariffs on India. And he said that you should not allow another country to bully you, because if you don't raise your voice, you'll never be able to do that later. So here he said that China stands with India. We will uphold the principles of WTO, that is the World Trade Organization, right? And here also, compared to last year and this year, வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா India-China's relationship has actually improved a lot, right? Be it trade, be it granting more visas, right? The Kailash Mansarovar Yatra was once again resumed. இந்த மாதிரியான நிறைய developments has taken place, which is a very positive note. So yes, also one more thing over here, right? Many things are pointed out, right? For example, the ongoing trade which is there, right? Also with regard to this, our trade has crossed $75 billion, right? A 10% rise from what it was the previous year. Also, right, a statement on combating terrorism was made, right? That is India, China and Pakistan need to take efforts to combat terrorism, right? So all these were some discussions which were there. Yeah, the most significant than pathingana, yes, you all know that in a few months, right, like the SCO is going to take place, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. So in the context, yes, when many countries will be coming, many discussions will take place. So I want you all to read about India-China relations and also about SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the members, right? Also read about RATS, a grouping, right? Also read about certain initiatives taken by the SCO. This could be important, fine. So in the context, yes, moving forward, let's talk about it. How women migrant electors are disenfranchised in the Bihar Special Intensive Revision process. So here, unga ellarkume theriyum the ongoing background, right? So we all know, November la vandu Bihar Assembly is going for its polls, right? Assembly polls are going to take place. So in the context where the Election Commission of India has carried forward the idea of what is called as a special intensive revision exercise. In the exercise vandu enna, right? So the idea is the existing data, the voter roll is very outdated. So in the context where we want to ensure that an updated revised electoral roll is released. The last time where this was done was in the early 2000s. Nariya years aayiduchu. So the existing voter roll could be outdated. Many people might have migrated, many people might have died, right? Nariya eligible people irukkalam who can be included, right? Duplicate entries நம்ம remove பண்ணணும். This was Election Commission's intention. So in the context, yes, this entire process வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா June end லெந்து till September it will be fast tracked and finished. So இதில் வந்து நிறைய stages இருக்கு. For example, step 1, booth level officers வந்து வீடு வீடா போய் they will do the verification process, right? So they'll check your name, your address, your age. Next, document verification பண்ணுவாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா later the draft electoral roll will be released. So in the list, if some people feel their names are not there, right, they can go and file a claim for it, right, and the final revised roll will be released. So இப்போ வரைக்கும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா the draft electoral roll has been released. Many people's names are there, right? Even Supreme Court has criticized, saying that special intensive revision should be more of inclusion and not exclusion. So in this context, yes, what many people say is this has not been fair, especially for women migrant electors. Why? Because see, in the context of Indian society, many women who migrate, they migrate because of marriage, right? இப்போ பீகாரில் கூட பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய women whose names are not there, it's because they've migrated because of marriage. So here this could be very unfair upon them. That is what they have said. So just go through, try to understand special intensive revision exercise, right? What does it mean, or how does it impact different sections of the society like migrant laborers, women, etc. Also read about Election Commission as a constitutional body, right? இது எல்லாமே படிங்க. This could be important, right? These are all basics. So yes guys, with this we have completed the discussion for today. I hope it was useful. Thank you. Study well. All the best.